the earliest you can find your passion in your life, it's the better off you're going to end up being. And just, ask questions and take the normalcy out of like, oh, if I'm a female, I want to get into retail or marketing. Well, if I'm a male, I want to go play golf and, sell and do commercial real estate or do whatever it is you think it is you want to do. But just ask yourself, explore the lack of people who don't take advantage of their parents' friends and just interview them. Ask them,
Yeah.
what do they do every single day? Like, what's a day in the life of you? What do you do for a living? Let me understand it.
Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for your support. We've got another great story of another great career path with wonderful ideas on how to get ahead. Today on the Edge of Excellence, we've got Steve Tchejeyan, cybersecurity executive, private equity player, and person of community impact. The guy's got a dream life. We're not even going to get into how dreamy it is, but we are going to get into how you can be more efficient and do it all. We're going to talk about what is cybersecurity and how he followed that on his path to private equity, but more importantly, how you can find your passion. We're going to talk about building relationships, gaining experience, and what Steve did to become excellent. You're going to love the show. Welcome to the Edge of Excellence. Well, Steve Tchejeyan, it's been a long time since I've seen you on a screen. I've heard your voice. I've talked to you actually on FaceTime, but on a
Yeah.
computer. Actually, I've never seen you on a computer screen before. Thank you for so much for making time to come and share your wisdom. I know you've got a lot in that head of yours that you want to get out to help the 20 somethings of the world. Welcome
Yeah.
to the Edge of
Thanks.
Excellence.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into it today. We're going to get into private equity and cross-point equity. We're going to get into what it means when you're in private equity and you plant yourself in a business, maybe as CEO, maybe as president, maybe COO, CFO. Steve's done that before. We're going to get into technology. We're going to get into cybersecurity and Steve's new business. Steve's the president of Island, and he's working on scaling up this cybersecurity business with a go-to-market strategy. He's been chief revenue officer for Forescout Technologies and led all the customer-facing functions. He's been senior VP of McAfee, Blue Coat, Symantec, which is Symantec, Tim Britt.
I'm
Nope.
Brett.
Different company. But this, by the way, we don't have anything that's accurate on this podcast. So if I say Tim Britt's part of Symantec, maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
I
We
have no
don't know.
idea. It's all good.
But we're going to get into all that. But before we do, Steve, I got to know, what is your
Sure.
definition of excellence?
It's a good question. I did like the thought process behind it, but I think excellence is it's the quality of being outstanding or great or amazing. It's not you could narrow the scope. You could be excellent at a specific niche, but I think it's taking the thought of intentionality and excellence in everything you do and you approach every single day. It's easy to kind of go through the motions, but when we take the concept of excellence and being great and outstanding, uh, around everything we approach, everything we touch, everything we want to go accomplish, I think that's something special. So that's how I think of excellence.
And how you do one thing is how you do everything every day. Everything
Right.
is that overall excellence, as opposed to just in a niche where you're doing one thing excellent all the time.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing that. We're going to get into, and I'm going to make these statements. Again, this is my podcast. So if the statement is
Do whatever you
incorrect,
want. Yeah, go ahead.
we're going to go with it. Accomplishing more in your career than you've ever dreamed of. Is that a factual statement?
Sure. I think
Doesn't
so.
matter anyway. We're going with it. Having the perfect wife and kid.
Yes.
Factual.
I'm very happy with that.
Maintaining all your lifelong friends, or I could put in parentheses, all your
Yeah.
lifelong friends that you care to maintain, gaining new friends, and living a balanced life, even though you're crushing it at work. Is that
Yeah.
true? Okay,
Yeah.
we're going
I
to
think
get
so.
into those three things. But before we do, we got to go back to the start. What enabled that to happen? And we got to go back to high school. I don't even remember where you went to high school, Steve. Where did you go to high
I
school?
went to high school in Santa Barbara, California.
Oh
San
my
Marcos.
God, you lived in paradise for all that time?
It didn't feel like paradise when I was there, if I'm honest with you. I was a little, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. But there's some cool places out there, and you make the best of it. So definitely enjoyed the beach, the mountains, and the great weather. But I was spoiled at the time, and I don't know that I realized it. So it's all good.
Half of our audience right now is dealing with blizzards in the Midwest.
Yeah,
And if you haven't looked, just if you're driving right now, don't do this. But later, just look up on Google Santa Barbara and look for images. And it didn't
yeah,
seem that
it's
I'm from
beautiful.
Albuquerque, New Mexico, dude.
Yeah,
Albuquerque, New Mexico. We had hills, there was nothing on it. We didn't have an ocean, we had a desert. We didn't have like great restaurants. We had Arby's. I don't even think they have Arby's anymore. They've downgraded from that.
oh,
So,
I used to eat at Arby's in Santa Barbara. Come on now.
wait, did Jen grow up in Santa Barbara too? Your beautiful, perfect
She
wife,
did
Jen,
not. No, she grew up in Texas, but is originally from Venezuela.
and you met her in college?
At In college, yeah.
Because by the way, Steve is another one of these College Works alumni that did not fish off the company pier. He brought Jen worked at College Works, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh, so she's not like Jill, where she was my girlfriend and came to the company.
No,
She was just around a lot, and we all got to know her
Jen was
because
around a lot. You're right. She came to the parties, and yeah, we had a great time, created great memories together. She's part of the alumni, although she didn't necessarily work.
she counts. You know what she did? She made it better for the rest of us with her uplifting attitude and positivity and
Yes,
lack
Jen
of
and Jill had fun
negativity
together. Yeah,
when
for
we were
sure.
getting our butts kicked, marketing and cold calling. All right. So you went to school in Santa Barbara. What was the high school called?
San Marcos.
San Marcos High School with Ryan Fell. Shout out to Ryan Fell from San Marcos. And you were doing really good in school, crushing it. And that's how you got into all the good colleges.
Yeah, I did not. I should have prioritized it a little bit more. Hopefully, my kids will not see this, but yeah,
Don't worry. No one's
they
kids ever listen to this till they're over 25 years old. So you're safe. Other people's
yeah,
kids will
yeah,
listen.
yeah, yeah. No, I didn't take school nearly as seriously. I was always, working in some way, shape, or form and prioritized that sort of working drive more than I did my educational drive, which is actually one of my regrets, if I'm honest with you. I think that I should have found more balance. I did not. That was definitely a big part of what I taught my kids as they're kind of entering in, college and slowly entering into the professional sort of world. I think a balance of both is absolutely doable. And I wish I did more balance and enjoyed my moment a bit better. That's definitely something I did not do.
Well, at least you balanced it unbalanced it the right way. So many people
Yeah,
just do the school thing, just do the sports thing. They forget the work
agreed.
thing. I know you're working with your daughter on her work thing and getting out there and doing crazy stuff
Yeah.
to get ahead. So you wish that you would have taken advantage of the high school life. How about college? Do you feel good about the college
Same
life?
thing. Same thing. I mean, I worked my ass off, for you knuckleheads, right? So I had to make money. I was having a lot of fun, learning more than I would have learned by, I felt like at the time in the moment attending school. I didn't do a frat. I didn't do Greek life. I didn't do any of that. And I think I could have balanced it a bit more, right? Because I think there's a lot of lessons learned, kind of going through the experience, but also, growing and evolving as you do so. I was, one of my regrets, and again, I think I've done a good job teaching this to my kids, just watching and observing, is enjoy the moment, live the moment, be in the moment, and then still create and find excellence while you do so.
So would you take back the working part?
No, no, I would balance it. There's a balance. There's a diminishing return that you actually you find in order to be well rounded. I think I found that a little later in life. I don't have regrets around where I've ended up, or the journey in which I got there. But I think I had an opportunity to balance that a bit more and become a little bit more intentional around what I wanted to accomplish. It's no different than going to the gym. If I'm going to say I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym. It didn't do that originally. I only was single threaded. I'm going to put all my energy here. But life is not just one thing; it's multiple things. And so that was an opportunity to learn that. And because I didn't prioritize it, I didn't learn it until later in life.
So what would you have cut out? So you're working all the time in high school, at San Marcos High School. You're in college, you worked a lot, you went to class. How would you have balanced it? Someone listening right now, let's say they're doing the college works thing, which you did, and I know most of our audience isn't, but you're working your butt off, hopefully working all weekend long, doing a couple things during the week for 4 to 6 hours. You lose 26 hours. You got school, you go into class, say you're studying all the time and you're spending, you know, 50 hours there. what would you cut off, or would you just have cut off wasted time? Watch less TV.
Waste of
uh,
time. I'd be
Waste.
more productive, more efficient. Nobody taught me how to do that. I was not. It's not something you just do. You have to learn it. You have to be taught it. You need a mentor to show you how. You have to. We all tend to do the things that come easiest to us that we're most excited about. Whether if you're an athlete, you're going to go practice more. If you're academics, you're going to go study more. If you're, but finding a balance to doing all those things, social, work, school, an active physical activity, sports, find that balance. The earlier you can figure that out, I think the more powerful it is, and you'll be more productive as a result. Because we're all, balance in life is very important, and it actually makes us more successful. That's why guys, these crazy CEOs that run multiple companies and do multiple things. It's the ability to balance, not only their personal lives but their business lives, and run multiple companies and multiple routes all at once. The sooner you can figure that out and be present in the moment of everything you're doing, while balancing all that out, the better off you're going to be.
So if you're listening right now, I just want to clarify what Steve's saying. He's not saying don't work. He's not saying don't do sports. He's not saying don't do well in school so you can live the college lifestyle. He's saying do it all. Have your cake and eat
Nice.
it too. And if you're
100%.
unable to do it all, find a mentor. Might be your parents. If you're Steve's kids, talk to your dad. Quit not listening to your dad. Might be someone else's parents, might be someone from work, might be a professor. If you're in college and you make a professor your mentor, I bet you get better grades. That's a good way to build a
Yep.
relationship and get the benefit of the doubt. So you wish you could go back in time, and you wish Adam Robinson had been better at teaching time management and balance when he was your district manager at College
It
Works.
was not my district manager, believe it or
Was
not.
Mike Profant your district manager?
No, Mike and I were peers. It was Andrew Reed.
Oh, I knew it was Andrew Reed. I knew it was Andrew Reed.
Yeah.
I always screw that up. I did know it was Andrew Reed, and I do remember. Shout out to Andrew Reed. Thank you for removing the cushion on your couch that I stayed on all those years when we were starting our business, because I still have back problems and I think about you every day. Who has a couch with 2 out of 3 cushions that they have their friends sleep on? I don't know. And that, you know why he did it? Because I never been invited on your ski trip. And he did that to me because he knows I can ski way better than him, and he doesn't want to be
You would out
embarrassed.
ski all of us, dude. That's the problem. That's
Oh,
that's what it
oh.
is.
Finally, someone admits it. Okay.
I've always admitted it.
Okay. So when you're in high school, were you aiming at the technology world? Were you aiming at the private equity world? Were
No,
you aiming at the CEO? You're just
no.
working hard because you love working. What were you
I
aiming at?
had the wrong motivation in high school, Matt. That's kind
Oh,
of my point.
what?
I was just an idiot who wanted to make a lot of money. That's
Oh,
it. And that's not really a motivation that that I think is you could have a desire to be successful at whatever you choose to do, but I just thought I wanted to make a bunch of money.
why?
It so happens I did, but it's not a goal that's achievable, because you're never going to find happiness when you
No,
just
no.
go.
Why did you want to make a lot of money?
I mean, I was just a teenage idiot, that thought he wanted nice things, and that's gonna drive you to an outcome.
Was
And
one
so
of your parents a doctor?
no,
I don't
my
know why I
parents.
thought.
I had a stay-at-home mom, and my dad never made more than $63,000 a year.
Okay, so you and I are in the same boat.
Yeah,
All I wanted to do was make money. That's all I wanted to do. And I
yep,
was looking for whatever way. So first it was a doctor, but I passed out of blood. They were the wealthiest people in New Mexico. Well, the car dealers, then the doctors, then the lawyers. And I was going to be a lawyer, chasing money, chasing money, chasing money. Then I did the college works thing and decided I loved it. So I chased my love, and my love was business. But I've tried to just make money in business too. I've tried to start a company, just made money, lost a fortune. And what I found, and tell me if you agree, I never make money when I'm chasing money. Never.
that's my
I,
point.
I
That's
always
exactly.
lose. I make
Yep,
money when I'm chasing my passion, and that's your point.
that's the point. That's
And
the point. Not only your passion in terms of what you want to do, it doesn't need to be industry specific. Self-reflect. I mentor a lot of college kids. It just happens to be kind of the age of my kids, and as a result, I have access to a lot of them. And it's interesting. I get the phone calls around. I get phone calls around. Hey, can you help me get an internship? That's the worst first question you can ask. I love the fact you want to get an internship and you're self-aware enough to want one. However, what do you want to do? Get kind of self-reflect. What makes you happy? And you have all these kids that say, I want to do these things, and it's just so spread out, and they're desperate to say, I want to figure out what I want. So invest a little bit of time to understand, what gets you going, what gets you excited, what are, then you say people, I love it when they say, I want to get into sales. Great. That's perfect. Why? And then what sort of industries interest you? There's so many different jobs you can get that have a sales aspect to it. Different industries, different, I can go on and on, whether it's real estate, you want to go play golf every day and own a book of business, or do you want to go sell tech, and solve, problems and go be a competitor and chase a quota every single year. It just goes on and on. But, I think, what we got to do is the earliest we can find our passion. And that's what an internship's about, by the way. The earliest you can find your passion in your life, it's the better off you're going to end up being. And just, ask questions and take the normalcy out of like, oh, if I'm a female, I want to get into retail or marketing. Well, if I'm a male, I want to go play golf and, sell and, do commercial real estate or do whatever it is you think it is you want to do. But just ask yourself, explore. The lack of people who don't take advantage of their parents' friends, and just interview them. Ask them,
Yeah.
what do they do every single day? Like, what's a day in the life of you? What do you do for a living? Let me understand it. Such an easy button for everybody to hit, and then narrow that down. So whenever somebody asks me for help with an internship or whatever the case may be, I tend to. It's funny how many get disappointed because they wanted that easy button. Because I spend the first hour asking questions, learning about them. What are their interests? Why do they want what they want? Why do they think they want what they want? And then just kind of getting that, rather than just saying I'm doing this because I think I'm supposed to.
Okay, so there are a lot of people that listen to this podcast that are either about to launch their professional career or they've launched it and they're not exactly where they want to be, so they're looking. So I
Yep.
just want to sum up that research process. And this is the reason I do this podcast. The average
That's
college
awesome. I love
student
it.
knows of 25 jobs. They
Yep.
don't know what their parents do. They don't know what their friends' parents do. They know what's on TV. They don't know what commercial real estate is that you just mentioned. They know what
Yeah.
flip or
Sure.
flop is because it's on TV. They don't know these things. So we did this podcast to help expand it. There is a podcast on how to expand your understanding. I don't know what number it is, but it's the Job Hack Podcast, Wormholing. You can look it up on whatever your podcast site is. But you've mentioned things that people are already doing. You've already had some jobs, and maybe it's not a career job, but you can figure out what elements of that job you liked and didn't like. You're looking for internships, so you've already had internships to test out. Maybe it's not just the industry, you're testing out the role in an industry, and the role might be the same in other industries. So you're figuring different aspects of your internship out. You've gone to classes, and they're the least like working out of anything you could possibly think about, but you're getting exposed to. Are you a science type thinker? Are you a sales type thinker? Um, you can go to career fairs. They have them every quarter, every semester at your school. Talk to companies, figure out what do they do, what type of people they're looking for. You can listen to podcasts like this podcast. And then what I recommend, if you're a freshman 1 hour a week, if you're a sophomore 2 hours a week, if you're a junior 3 hours a week, if you're a senior, you're pretty late because you should be looking for a job in September, 4 hours a week. Go onto the internet, look at different industries, look at companies into those industries, look at roles in those industries, take notes, get to know. Your gut will start to tell you what you like and don't like. And then you go try it in an internship or try it in a job, and you can change. But your 4 years of high school and 4 years of college should be, in addition to education, sports, learning how to read and write, learning how to communicate, learning how to lead. It should be figuring out what's out there in the world. We do have a podcast on DISC that will help you if you haven't listened to it. We do have a podcast on the job search, and Steve's going to get into it deep. But I agree, Steve. If you're just chasing the dollar, like if I would have been a lawyer, I would have been a horrible lawyer and I would have never made any money.
Totally.
I wanted to be a teacher. I had to figure out a different way to be a teacher. Steve, you wanted to do what when you were starting out chasing dollars? What were you thinking about doing?
Yeah, anything. I thought I wanted to. It just, I thought whatever was hot at the time. That's how I fell into tech. Right. After college works, I did that through my senior year, and then I wanted, it was back in 2000 when the .com thing was kind of kicking off, and I wanted to get part of that. I knew I wanted to, move from Santa Barbara into a big city, so I kind of contemplated where I wanted to live, and I followed the sort of the industry where I think a lot of young people were succeeding, and there's a lot of demand with kind of companies and categories that were had a ton of headroom, and so I moved to the Bay Area. That's I immediately said, okay, I'm going to go get an entry level job after college works, which was tough for me mentally at that time because I thought I was bigger, better than that. But I still had a lot to learn. I didn't accept that at the time. So, but I grinned and bared it, and I took an inside sales kind of role inside of a big software company, and I learned about tech. And I fought for a little while until I wanted that next move, and then there's a moment in time that I think things mentally and emotionally settle down. I could share that in a later point in the podcast, but I was following something that I knew was hot and which is smart, which I don't regret. Because I knew I had a lot of headroom. There's a lot of job opportunities. I'm not going to grind to just get an entry level job that is a crappy job that doesn't eventually pay well. So you have to categorically understand sort of what you're entering into. And I had a lot of interest in tech. I like tech. I was always kind of like the fidget with it, whether it's computers or AV equipment or whatever was innovative in terms of technology. I was into it.
Did you do the college works thing to set yourself apart and get a better job, or did you do the college works thing just to chase money?
That's a great question. At first, it was to chase money, and then it became about me learning how to become. At the time, I thought an entrepreneur. But really, what I was learning is a more, I think, important set of skills that I didn't recognize probably till a decade later. It honed what I would call today is what is a sales cycle or sales process, and what we call in most businesses pipeline management. And if we want, I could define all that. Pipeline management is how many opportunities to close a transaction do you need in order for a transaction to close, right? And so that whole process, and then the production flow, it taught me about the sales cycle and the sales process, and how to manage a very complicated team and execution of delivering producing the product, as well as continuing to sell. And that's what it brought me. It kind of honed my sales skills and understood the statistics behind what I needed to do in order to succeed and win. But
So
it
it's
didn't have time.
so interesting. You and I both chased the wrong thing. I did the college works thing for the experience because I wanted to be a partner in a law firm and I figured it'd get me up there. But I was chasing money to be a lawyer. So we're going
Yeah.
down the wrong path. You're going down the wrong path, even into your internship that you did for a bunch of years in college. My son Jake, had his dream of design, but really he wanted to figure out how to make the most money. We're all three of us going down the wrong path. All three of us jump into a job or an internship. All three of us find more skills, get a better understanding of where we want to go. Then you go into the first tech job. Was it McAfee, the first tech job?
No, it was a company called PeopleSoft that eventually got
PeopleSoft.
acquired by Oracle.
PeopleSoft. So you go into PeopleSoft, still going the wrong way.
Yeah.
You're going there because you're chasing money. But as you're maybe chasing the wrong thing, if you're listening right now, you might be chasing the wrong thing. I chased the wrong profession. I chased the mighty dollar. Steve, is moving around doing things. Eventually, it starts to clarify. You keep gaining skills. You keep sorting through your passions, and eventually you go, "Oh, wait a second. I'm going to follow my passion and see what happens." So when did that happen for you? Because you're very passionate about tech. You're very
Yep.
passionate about startups. You're very passionate about private equity.
Yep.
When did you find the thing to be passionate about so you could stop chasing the dollar?
I think when I landed at Network Associates, actually, which is McAfee, eventually, and then that's all changed and all that. So it's a little confusing to hear company names for 20-something-year-olds. That's not relevant. But what is relevant is I found a mentor. I found actually a couple of them. My dad, and my mom, God bless them both, are best parents I could ever wish and ask for. Had no idea. My dad was had two master's degrees in physics and optical engineering, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
They had no idea to guide me. What they did though is they enabled me to help and encourage me to expose myself to different things, but they were not able to kind of guide me and help me understand what I was trying to capture because they themselves did not recognize that. So, mentorship was a big deal. Somebody I looked up to, and then somebody who showed me, the growth trajectory of what's in the art of possible if I actually, focus on it. I was, until I got to that, I was chasing, I want this job with this kind of compensation. And I didn't understand anything else around it. And so that was probably the biggest, eventually I was going to find it and figure it out. But that was probably once that switch flipped, that's when things changed for me.
What's the mentor's name?
I had a couple of them. At that point, was a guy named Andrew Monahan and another guy at that time. This is 2003, two, one, maybe one, 2001, and then another guy named Mike Carpenter.
And so those two people showed you how to find your passion, how to mix passion with your professional life, how to
Yeah,
find balance, how to
yeah,
be able to do all. They showed you all of that.
yeah.
That's what you were missing in high school, what you were missing in college. They helped you get the balance and find the
They
excellence.
helped me hone in my skills, right? They helped me hone myself into becoming, who I am and who I was capable of becoming. I think, right?
Mm. And part of those
Embracing.
skills was they recognized they knew don't chase the mighty dollar, chase the passion, and they help you recognize the passion.
Yeah, listen, when you want to chase the mighty dollar, you're probably a competitor. You're probably a meat eater, if you will.
Yeah.
One of the attributes I look for in people I hire, I sneak in the question. I always ask, what do you love about sales? What do you love about business? What do you love about it? And if your answer is not something like I hate to lose or I love to win, then you're probably not a fit.
Think about it.
So
Just stop for a second. Just when you said hate to lose, what happens in your belly? Just as you said hate to, and then the lose thing came out, there was a physical transformation in my body. Like, how bad do you hate to lose?
yeah, you hate to fucking lose. That's not good.
Win
Uh,
at everything,
but
everything all the
that's
time.
not true. That's not true. The
No,
losses make
but you want to.
yes, yeah, but the losses make you better, right?
Yeah.
So the point to that statement though is that you don't want to like it's okay. The chasing the mighty dollar is a competitive sort of attribute. So you just have to
It's a
refocus
metric.
on it.
It's a metric.
It's a metric. It's a scoreboard, if you will. And so if you do everything else right, that piece of it comes. And so that's when it was early enough in my career where I discovered that, where I said, okay, I'm going to focus on succeeding and winning and growing. And then, holy shit, the money came.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
success came with it. And so I think that was an important sort of switch that flipped, giving you more purpose. By the way, hindsight, College Works gave me that purpose. I just didn't recognize it at the time.
And succeed, win, grow. When you're thinking about succeed, win, grow, and you're thinking longer term, I'm thinking I want to succeed, when I'm 40 and I have kids and I'm going to be able to go to their games. I want to win in the long term. I can take these little losses because I didn't lose the whole battle. I didn't lose the whole war. I lost this battle. When you're thinking that way and you think long term, you stomach all the ups and downs. So I'm sure you've had a bunch of big time failures, not just like lose millions of dollars of failures like I've had. I mean, I had 3 mega failures. I'm sure you've had those before, but you just buckle down and get going because you're passionate about what you're doing. You can get in there and get it done again. You have that confidence because you've won before. Am I right?
Yeah, but the hate to lose versus I didn't start with that. I love to win. Um,
No, hate to lose is much stronger.
it's way stronger. And so what happens is you bring a piece of paranoia into your life that is special. And I call it a healthy paranoia, because if you hone in your paranoia to something productive and useful, what you're doing is you're thinking about what could go wrong before it actually went wrong. And another expression for it, for those of you who have a kind of this type of mind, it's called game theory, right? You're thinking about what could go right, what could go wrong, and you obsess around the shit that could go wrong, and you work really really hard to figure out how to avoid that thing from going wrong.
Well,
uh, and you could apply that concept to anything in your life. You could apply it to health. You could
well,
apply it to why I go to the gym every single day,
mhm.
because I want to live a long, healthy life, and I want to be active when I'm old as dirt. And then you start changing your lifestyle as a result of it. you know,
That's that
like
long term. It's that
so
long term success, long term
yeah,
lack of losing.
yes, at everything you do, not just business, not just work. How about your family? Once you're married and like, okay, every decision you make is going to impact your family. Your kids are going to observe. You think about all that stuff. Like, it's hard. It's like, you have an edge to you all the time when you do that, but
Yeah.
it's the right thing to do.
So,
It's worked
what
for me.
exactly do you do? What's a day to day? Someone listening right now,
Yeah.
cybersecurity, they know what cybersecurity is. Technology, they know what technology is. I don't think they know how the private equity thing worked that got you, like,
I don't think anybody knows how cybersecurity works, if I'm honest with you.
okay, then tell us about cybersecurity, tell us about private equity, tell us
Yeah,
what you do.
sure, sure. So I've actually spent my entire career in tech, as an operator, and what that means is I've gone in and I started grassroots. You heard me talk about my first sales gig. I was an inside sales rep, hammering on the phones, kind of like we did at College Works, but physical doors. I followed up prospecting, call all the time, setting up meetings for other people. Kind of that's the ground floor you can start at, right? In tech and most companies for that matter. Then eventually you kind of grow up and you get your first sales gig. Then your individual contributor, which is a very honorable profession. You can make $1 million a year doing, being a field rep at the right company and overachieving quota. And then eventually you get into, what I was more passionate about, and I learned this at this point. I was more passionate about leading people and leading a team than I was making a bunch of money as a rep, because the hardest job, the biggest sacrifice you make is as a first line leader in a sales organization, because if you're succeeding, all your people are making a lot more money than you are, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And that's pride.
Long
uh,
term again, long term thinking again, long term happiness, long term success.
that's right, that's right. And then eventually I took on I grew up in my career, I grew up mostly with within a company called McAfee, which is a consumer brand today, but it was enterprise cybersecurity when I was there, and that's what we focused on. And a bunch of us came together. This was like 15, 20 years ago. And these are some of my closest friends and mentors and people I, work very closely with today. And we grew up in our careers together, eventually kind of running the entire company. And we made some intentional moves, running other companies that were private equity owned, and then getting acquired a couple times, and fixing these software companies because we had pattern recognition at that point.
So
But we
Was McAfee a platform? So you moved
Sure.
from prospecting to sales to leadership, and then to the upper levels of leadership in
Yes.
McAfee, and
Yep.
then in that as your platform, you started working with private equity and
We
acquiring
left.
other companies.
Yeah, McAfee got bought, and so we
Mm.
left. We left that, and then we did it again, and then we repeated it a few times. And then that's where I think we've all we're much older now and much more experienced, and we decided to kind of get in the investor side of things, and that's where I have private equity experience, as well as start our own ideas, right, and our own tech, right. So that's what Island is. It's a startup sort of world where it's got VC money, and we're one of the hottest startups that are out there, in my opinion, and growing at a very rapid pace and validating kind of the market. So there's when when what we're all doing now is we're still operating, and we're operating something very special, but we also have our we also do a lot of investments and stuff on the side.
So your path to private equity, and I believe there's kind of two main paths.
Yeah.
One is you get out of college, you go work in consulting or private equity, and you work in a private equity firm. You go to Harvard, you get your MBA, and you get
Sure.
hired by a private equity firm. And you probably start off in some sort of analytics before you're out getting the big clients that you're investing in. Steve's way is different. He is the operator path, which
Yep.
is rise up in a company that then sells or buy or gets private equity to buy other companies, rise up in a company to the executive leadership role to be part of the selling and buying. You're probably getting stock options on the way. If you're in the car right now, stock options are really good. You're getting options, you're getting a piece of the pie. You might be getting paid profit interest, not even getting a salary, only getting paid based on equity or growth in equity, which is usually way high up there. And so you're getting that experience, then you exit and you take over another company, or you get hired by another company, or you start another company, and you've got the experience of doing the different roles, that you went your way up through, but you also have your experience in the overall organization. And there has to be some experience dealing with private equity, knowing how
Yep.
private equity works. And then you're repeating, and eventually you have enough money to be one of the private equity people. Is that how it worked for you?
Or invest in one of the firms, right?
Yeah.
Contribute, and so you basically are part of it in a way of either operating it, investing in it, sitting on a board, being an advisor. There's a lot of paths to be involved, right? So, 'cause your network is pretty powerful and pretty big at that point, and you reach a point where you have the contribution could be pretty significant.
And I want to just flag that relationships piece that you mentioned, because you
Yeah,
mentioned that the first people that you worked with, that you
yeah,
rose up with, you keep doing stuff with them. They're calling you, you're calling them. You just stay together as a group, move collectively. How's that? How important was that? What did you do to maintain those relationships for
everything.
someone listening?
It's everything. It's everything. It's a snowball at the end of the day. You keep collecting people along the way, right? Because we're having fun together. You're running routes together that you know where they're going. Another old person expression is you have a shorthand together. You understand what the other's saying before the sentence is completed. And you can really how to run things together that short circuit success.
Yeah.
It's a combination of experience, but also enjoying doing it together. You don't want to let each other down, so you're not gonna sit there and slack off because the other person's working their ass off, and you constantly pick each other up and help each other. We've all had bad moments and bad experiences along the way, but you got a group of them that are just pulling you up and giving you a big hug, and you're moving on to the go after it again. So it's like it's a powerful thing, but it's special. It's like
Mhm.
finding a spouse. Honestly, it's not like anybody's going to work. You just have to recognize it when you see it.
And it takes energy, just like
Oh
staying
yeah.
married. It takes time, it takes devotion, it takes commitment, it takes valuing those relationships, it takes humility, to let them steer you sometimes, and let them figure out what they know more about than you do. So what when I look at your this interesting career, and I've seen the blips, I get reports from Mike Profont. I've seen the blips up, and I've heard about the wonderful days. I haven't heard any of the bad days. I'm sure there's been some. What should I be asking on behalf of the people listening right now? What am I not asking on behalf of the listeners right now? They want to follow your path towards private equity. They want to follow your path towards tech. They want to find what they're passionate about. What should I have asked you that I haven't asked you yet?
Listen, you got. I think the listeners are either one of two categories. They're either going through college, whether you're a freshman or junior, senior. But if you're a senior, that means you're coming out of college or you just started your career. So those are the two kind of paths and categories that I think the audience really hits on.
Mhm.
And I think what I've observed is that there's it's really important to make sure that you know your story, that you want as a result of the outcome you're looking for. Who are you? What gets you fired up? What gets you excited to wake up? How do you turn Monday morning into not a dread but a fun sort of new day? So what is that story that kind of gets you excited and it gets you fired up? And then what are your actions doing to contribute to that story being validated? So same thing if you're just graduating and you're looking for your new job. You have to be intentional, and you have to have consistency around what it is you want without confusion, because nobody really wants to bet on you while you figure your life out, because that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that baked. Hopefully earlier on. But if you're just starting your career, it's not too late. And then making sure you have consistency in those decisions you're making as well. And so, like if you're going into your freshman year, try really hard to go get an internship. Try
Mhm.
really hard, and making sure you're not just getting an internship where you're following somebody around. The times I actually talked to somebody who said, "Hey, I did an internship my freshman year, and I'm looking for the next one." And they said, "What'd you do?" I was like, "Well, I followed somebody around. I observed. I did this. I did that." Be specific. What did you learn? How did you grow? What projects did you take on? And then what's the next part of your internship as a result? Did you like the category and maybe you want to try a different role? Did you hone in and learn and interview people or talk to people that are in different departments? I think it's really important that you take that seriously. Uh,
And that's how you find out, to your definition of excellence earlier, what are you going to be outstanding at? What are you going to be great at? And you're
yes,
making these little adjustments. And I just want to flag, it's okay to find what you don't like, but
that's
make
perfect.
sure you gain something. Do it for 6 months, do it for a year, do it for the summer, finish it up, kick ass, and find out why you didn't like it so you can make a better
Right.
decision about what you do like.
That's right. And if you're starting to figure things out, there's a lot of really cool things out there. A lot of people don't realize in college you could actually get a sales certificate.
Mm,
You could get a minor in sales in some of your
mhm,
colleges.
mhm,
That's a very cool thing.
mhm.
Those certificates are meaningful because what it does is it exposes you. You have access to internships. You have access to becoming better and honing in your skills. A lot of people say, "Hey, I want to get into sales." The next question is, what kind of sales? Do you want to get into tech? Do you want to get into like pharmaceutical or biotech? Do you want to get into real estate? These are things you got to figure out. Now you just know you like people, you're a meat eater, that you like to, win business and,
Mhm.
all that stuff. Embrace that stuff. But now what interests you? What gets you excited every single day? That's what's really important. And the same thing as you're coming out of school, make sure you're intentional around the story. Be patient. Make sure you're growing in the role that you're in. Don't worry about the next role. It's really easy when you're young. If it comes across easy in your career, when you're young in your career, you're like, "Oh, I just want what's next. I just want what's next." Understand the amount of headroom you have and the category in which you want to grow in, and make sure you're the best at that individual role. And then, latch on to somebody who's going to bet on you, because that's how you're going to get that promotion, not just asking for it and expecting it within 6 or 9 months.
And if you're young and you're listening to this and you're young, um, you can try things that may not be in the same industry. Sales is a good example. Go sell at the mall as your first job, then work as a waiter as your second job, and then sell solar or pest control or paint jobs or whatever. Because if you want to be in pharmaceutical sales, you don't get to have your first sales job in pharmaceutical sales. You don't get to have your first sales jobs in medical device sales. You got to try something similar. So you're looking at jobs, you're looking at daily activity, and you're looking at industries. And we talked about it before, while you're doing your research, while you're trying your jobs, while you're trying your internships, all that stuff. What else do you, because I know when I talked to you on the phone the other day about your own daughter and about her own
Yeah.
internships, which when we set this up, you said you had a lot of stuff that you wanted to share because you think about it all the time. You do what I do, your kids' friends, your friends' kids, you're out there helping all the time. They know you got some wisdom here. What else did you want to tell the listeners that's going to help them figure out what do I want to do for a living and how can I be excellent at it?
Well, I think I shared a lot of it. I think I've honed in on a lot of this. Helping my daughter and helping my
Yeah, yeah,
boys kind of go
yeah.
through it. I do think like my daughter was is really interesting. Her first internship was in marketing. First of all, prior to even college, we talked about technology because she didn't know. She's like, "I'm not technical."
Yeah,
Like, you don't have to be an engineer.
yeah, no.
And like you just you could bring be involved in a tech company and take social media, and or you can do like whether it's retail or what it happens to be. She actually likes cyber, and she's like, "Oh, this is actually really cool." So she exposed herself to it and realized
Yeah.
this
Didn't
is
know what
really
she
cool.
liked.
And she didn't know what she liked. She was
Yeah.
open minded. She's like, "I'm going to go explore. I'm going to go interview people. I'm going to take a class." She took a class in
Mhm.
her freshman year. It was called BIS, Business Information Systems, and ended up being her favorite class.
Hmm.
So she put herself out there a little bit and like, "I'm
Yeah.
going to try it." And then she found an internship. And then she didn't like, I'm not a salesperson. Now she was an athlete in high school. I kind of chuckled in the back of my head. I said, "All right, go try marketing." And so she applied for a marketing role in a tech company, and she ended up liking tech, and she's saying, "God, I really like the sales side of it there. I want to learn that."
Yeah.
And so I encouraged that, try it out, go take a sales class and sales certificate. And, the other thing she did that was really cool was, she did a abroad program. I know you and I, Matt, talked about this. I think, exposing yourself to different cultures is going to make you better. That
Oh,
third
definitely.
internship is not going to set you apart.
Right.
But definitely have an internship, set up for your junior year, and then
Mhm.
better hopefully be, pretty dialed in, because if you love it and you kick ass at it, that's your job out of college.
Yeah.
That could work out really well for you.
Yeah.
But make sure you're setting yourself up for success, and be intentional around these decisions you're making. Because if you're not intentional around it, you're going to look back and say, "God, I wish I was a little bit more prepared, or it was easier to get a job." Those who are intentional have an easier time getting a job, and they're highly sought after because they have a lot of headroom and they're very clear headed around what they want.
Yeah, and they're intentional, and they're therefore paying attention subconsciously and consciously.
Yeah.
When you think you know what you want, you're going to notice the ad on TV. You're going to notice the article in the paper. You're going to hear something behind you on the bus and turn around and
Yeah.
ask a question. You may not be right, but you're learning about all this stuff that you don't know about, and you can use that knowledge to figure out what you do want to know about.
Right.
I was thinking about biggest, toughest challenge you've had in business, and I got to ask because the College Works guys always want to know what the toughest College Works challenge was for you. But what's been your toughest challenge in business? What'd you get out of it? What was your toughest College Works challenge, and what'd you get out of it?
I'll tell you the toughest challenge I had. That's interesting. There's definitely a couple. I think the toughest one though was, we took something private in middle of COVID. So it was a public company that we took private, in a PE world, and that was a real hard thing because it was hard to maintain the culture. It was hard to maintain the desire to kind of be together and create that thing that's really important, which is connective tissue of the people.
Yeah,
I think that I'm not a believer in the work from home sort of atmosphere.
yeah,
I'm actually massively anti.
yeah, me too.
I think it's super unhealthy, especially if if for those of you that are younger, even for those of us who are not, because I think you get some great ideas that come from it. And I see a couple of these generations that are a little bit entitled versus
Uh,
level of humility.
uh,
And when you're in the office, you have humility because you see the greatness around you. When you're working from home, you're just trying to figure out how to wrap my day up and get on with what I'm trying to get done personally.
It's the same reason you go
Uh,
on business trips, same reason you go visit people in their offices. It's the
yeah,
conversation outside of the Zoom, it's the conversation off the phone, it's the water cooler, it's the passing each other in the hallways. It's a,
yeah,
hey, can I talk to you for 15 minutes after dinner? It's the socialization, it's the becoming friends and sharing ideas in your off time. There's so many great reasons to work, to
yeah. I think
collaborate.
that was the toughest thing, and that's what made it so hard. It's not being together and all that. So anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
What was your biggest college works challenge if you can remember all the way back to those years ago?
God, that was a long time ago. That was 30 years
I
ago.
know it wasn't Andrew Reed. Shout out to Andrew Reed. He's the easiest person to work for in the history of working for people. Adam
Yeah,
Robinson had it tough. He worked with an asshole, but
he
you
worked
got
for you,
lucky.
right?
Yeah, he did. I know he tells you all the time. He still
No, he actually doesn't.
he still remembers 22. You know what I used to do to him when he'd miss his meetings? I would call him at like 2 in the morning and wake him up to do the meeting. I did that so many times to that poor guy to try to teach
Yeah,
him a lesson. I don't know why I did that.
didn't I used to pour a cold like ice water on you and like when you're taking a shower? I think I've
Yeah,
done that
I've
too.
had you were involved in. I don't really want to say this, but I don't think you were involved. Somebody other than you was involved in taking all my clothes off and then covering me with shaving cream
That was not me.
and
I had
then doing
nothing.
like a sunburst
Yeah,
around me. I had
that's
water
when I
in the
was
shower. I
starting.
had fireworks in the shower. I had holes shot in my walls. This was back when companies were rowdy. Now you know what we do? We help each other. We support each other. We say positive things. We stay under control. It's a whole different world today.
Um, that's. I don't remember the shaving cream story. That's pretty
Thank
funny.
God.
I'm gonna
There's a
have to ask
picture.
I'll have to ask for fun about
There
that.
is a picture.
The hardest thing that to answer your question, the hardest lesson I learned in college works. There's a dynamic that a lot of your listeners may or may not necessarily know. While you're in your last semester before summer, you're selling a bunch of jobs,
Yeah.
but then you still have 3 months in the summer itself, right? And you're
Mhm.
producing. The hard part is really producing the work because none of us knew what the fuck we were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. We had no idea how to paint a house.
Well, we
Uh,
really train them a lot better now.
I'm sure you do. So anyway, but the balance. But I was fortunate. I got a really good crew, and I had a lot. I found the people to help me to produce the work. So it's not like I was schlepping paint. I was running. I was errand boy, if anything else. But the piece that I think resonated was the importance of that rolling pipeline and that rolling sort of activity while I'm producing to continue to sell, to make sure that the people that bet on me to give them a job over the summer
Yeah.
kept busy through the summer.
Yeah.
And there reached a point where I panicked. I literally, I remember this like it was yesterday. I actually remember the street I was standing on
Yeah.
when I, holy shit, I've only got about 10 days more worth of work. And I
Yeah.
was leading the boards going into the summer. I vividly remember like I was kicking ass and Mike Profant, I used to always compete with him. I'm like, this fucker, he's not talking. He's very silent. He was like my
Yeah.
silent.
Still is. Never says anything.
Yeah, no, he talks a lot. He talks a lot more now. So, but that's like, I need to beat Profant. And I panicked, quarter way into the summer, maybe 30, 40% of the summer. And I said, I don't have enough work through the summer. I need to go sell some shit. And I literally started hustling and I panicked and I was fighting from behind. I got him busy, but I could have made a shitload more money. And that was
You lowballed your bids to get work for your people.
I don't remember doing that.
Did you lower your price, or you just didn't have enough work?
I didn't have enough work. I ran out of work because
and so they got days off that they didn't want. I mean, that's the obligation.
It ended up working out. But what happened, Matt, is I wasn't prepared. I wasn't because I didn't know to be prepared. I could blame Andrew if you really want me to, but I didn't know that I had. It was my own fault because I just didn't anticipate, the paranoia of the deal going down. Right, it's like I'm going to run out of business for my guys to produce, and so I wasn't thoughtful. I didn't think about the thing all the way through, right? Because I didn't understand. Like I'm going to produce really well because I hired really good production guys.
Yeah.
Ben Logan, I remember that guy. He was he was my horse.
I remember Ben Logan. It's strange, some of the names and some of the, after 30 years, like I remember that person exactly. I remember their face, or I remember their name. And if I don't, I'll ask around to Mike or Jay or Jeff or Spence, and somebody will know exactly who we're talking about. And there's been 30,000 College Works people. It's crazy. So awesome. Crazy. Awesome. Well, I know we're over time. I do want to see if you had anything that you look back at when you were in your 20s where it felt like a sacrifice and you're so glad you did it. It really wasn't a sacrifice. It was life-changing. Anything like that you can remember?
The one I've been thinking a lot about lately actually is not my 20s, it's my 30s.
What was it?
Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right. Dude, I was grinding in my 30s. I was working my balls off, like working really, really, really hard. And something that was a little emotional to me was my kids kind of pointing it out. Not long ago. It was probably a few months ago, maybe when they're all here for one of the breaks. I don't remember what it was. And I said something around like a picture came up in your memories and all that. And I said, God, I commented. I said, God, I was working my ass off during those years, when I was in my 30s. And all the kids were like, yeah, we remember. But we're so grateful you did. And they were like, you remember we were gone. Like they affirmed like how much I was working. I was traveling 5 days a week, every week. But I would always make it a priority to like get home on that last flight if I had to be home. But I missed a lot, right? And I was sad about it. I was kind of bummed. I commented on it. The kids did something that was like, pretty emotional to me. They confirmed like, yeah, you did miss a lot. You were gone a lot. We missed you. But we are so grateful and appreciative for the sacrifice you made. And it's given us the work ethic that we have today. And they kind of went into this whole thing. So there's a sacrifice I made, but I'd do it again if I could, if I had to, I should say. It was hard,
Wow. Well, we'll close on that. Now I need to make sure my daughter listens to this because she reminded me how much I was gone yesterday because she's home on break. But that's a great way to close it up, Steve. Again, congratulations on Island. Congratulations on your illustrious career. Congratulations on your perfect wife, perfect family, perfect life, because you wanted it to be that way and you took the steps necessary. You brought a lot of people along with you. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your excellence with us today.
Thanks. Appreciate it.